everybody. It's Nicole, hoping today finds you well and happy and good. This is The Cure for Chronic Pain with me, Nicole Sachs, and I am here with a beautiful interview today with one of my former clients. Her name is Mouse. She is an amazing example of someone who really suffered with tremendous chronic pain in all different areas of her body, and even attended her son's wedding in a wheelchair. And Mouse is one of the most vibrant, exuberant, physically active people I have ever met, literally. And at 66 years old, she is killing it every day. And so the thought of her in a wheelchair is pretty astounding to me. And she is here today to tell her story, which began many years ago, meeting Dr. Sarno himself, but really not understanding deeply how to heal herself in an enduring fashion until she found JournalSpeak and my work. And it's just really great to be able to share her story here, inspire others, and hopefully something will click in your mind as you're listening to the interview about how you can do this for yourself and really heal. So before I get started with the interview, let's talk a little bit about my Omega retreat. And the reason I want to talk to you about it is a lot of times when people hear my interviews, especially with former clients who used to meet with me directly, they say, Nicole, I just want to work with you. They write me emails, are you taking new patients? Are you talking to people? And unfortunately, I am no longer taking any new patients because I'm just really dedicated to bringing this work to the global community, reaching out, teaching retreats, workshops, speaking at different conferences or wellness organizations. And so I don't have any time anymore to have a private practice, unfortunately. But I do want to tell you, if you want to meet me personally, if you want to work intimately with me with this work, come to my Omega retreat this summer, July 21st through the 26th. I can't tell you how excited I am for it. I'm planning a week of experiences you will have to live to believe in terms of the people I'm bringing and the community we will create and the energy we will create. And it's just going to be a week of total transformation. So if you're interested in signing up for the Omega retreat, you can go to omega.org, I believe. Just Google the Omega Institute for Holistic Health. It's in upstate New York. And Google either my name or my retreat, which is called Freedom from Chronic Pain, a Mind-Body Approach. Or, of course, you could just go to my website, which is thecureforchronicpain.com, and click on the resources page, and there will be the link right there. And if you're not yet, please join us on Facebook. It is a closed group where people are talking about this work and helping and supporting one another. And that is JournalSpeak with Nicole Sachs, LCSW on Facebook. And if you're enjoying this podcast and if you are getting help from it and if this work is helping you in any way, please rate and review it on iTunes because it really matters to get the word out there when iTunes podcasts get a little bit of attention. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to bring you this interview because I really think there are some gems of wisdom in here. We had a couple of technical issues in terms of Mouse's microphone, so every now and then you're going to miss a word she says, but if you just keep listening, everything that she's talking about becomes clear, so don't let it worry you. It's just, technology is imperfect. If there's one thing that I don't like about being a person with a message that I need to get out there, it's technology. But I am doing my very best, and I know that everything Mouse says is going to have a tremendous impact. So I love you guys. I wish you love and light and healing on your journey. And without further ado, I give you Mouse. Hi, everyone. This is Nicole, and today I am here with my beloved former client, Mouse. And I wanted to have Mouse on today because she is such a beautiful story of a lifetime struggle with different TMS equivalents that were really presenting all over her body. And a story of a person who, once she understood how to do the work, I feel like did it like a tremendous warrior, in a way that I always want people to do it. And so I invited her to come on the podcast and she graciously agreed. So hello, Mouse.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Nicole.
I am so glad you're here with us today. So, Mouse, let's jump right into it. I would love for you to help people understand what it was like for you before you found this work and how it felt, and we'll go from there.
Fabulous. I want to just start by saying I'm very proud, Nicole, that you call me a JournalSpeak Warrior because that is a badge of honor as far as I'm concerned. I
Yes,
work
ma'am.
really hard at it, and to have the pros say that to me. Thank you, thank you.
You are
So
welcome.
I would say that I have had ailments, conditions since I've been about 16, 17, 18 years old, and from sciatica to sternums to blurry vision to impaired hearing to, oh gosh, I don't know, you name them, back pain, all sorts of things. And I found Dr. Sarno about 25, 26, 27 years ago when I was living in New York, and he absolutely changed my world. And he changed my world to the point where he got me out of sciatica, he got me out of back pain, and but then I would continue periodically to get something else. I would get a
So, wait, I want to ask you a question for a second, Mouse. When you say you saw Dr. Sarno and he got you out of that, what do you think happened when you saw him that got you out of it?
when I say he got me out of it, what I had done is I had been to every doctor on whatever the condition was at the time. As I say, I signed up for Ailment of the Month Club, and I wasn't a sick
Right.
person. I was an athletic, outgoing, exuberant, very vital, vibrant 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old. It just didn't make any sense that I would get these debilitating conditions. And when I got, let's say, sciatica slash, and it went from, I had such bad sciatica when I went to Sarno, I couldn't sit on the chair. I had been to all these various doctors on, uh, I had had MRIs. They had said, oh, maybe a surgery would be good. Maybe it was a pinched nerve in the sciatic nerve. And pills and medications and therapy and I don't know. I just had done all that, and he said that none of that was going to cure me. And I said, well, what is going to cure me? And he said, it's basically an inside job. You were repressing your emotions. And I said, well, not me. I don't have anything. He said, you're repressing anger and fear. I said, me angry? I said, Dr. Sarno, look at me. There, you're not going to find a happier person than me. And he says, yeah, that's all bullshit. And I thought, whoa, this doctor is saying this to me. And he said, you are, my friend, are a giant cover up. And I said, cover up for what? And he just said, you're covering up all your emotions and you're very good at it. And what's happened is your body has produced a physical ailment to take your attention off of what's really emotionally bothering you, what you're emotionally afraid to feel. Well, I wasn't even sure what he was talking about. I certainly wasn't sure what he was talking about. And I said, well, then what do we do here? And he said, well, you're going to have to, why don't you come to my clinic thing? And so I went to
Oh, yeah, that he had his
he had his
lectures at the
lectures at the
time, right?
time.
When he was actually
Correct.
practicing.
And
Yeah.
so that next week, he got me right into one of his lectures, and I went to 2 hours one night. And I believe it was the next week I went to 2 other hours, and I was remarkably, remarkably better just for having him give me this knowledge and to be aware of the knowledge that this is not a physical problem. It is an emotional problem. Or what it is that
Okay, so I want to go
yeah.
ahead, Mouse.
Okay. You can go there. But then what he was going to, he said to me, you are one of the 3% or whatever the hell it was that you aren't going to be able to tackle this one on your own. And I said, why not? And he said, because you're going to have to be able to you need some therapy to talk about this, to even figure out what this is, because you don't seem to be able to know how to go inside and just dig it up, pull it out, and be done with it. You're hanging on for dear life here.
So he saw that in you, which is really interesting. I personally think that since, it's been years since Dr. Sarno was practicing and so many people have been doing this work, people are realizing that almost everybody needs to take more time than they think on this. Everybody needs to really focus on bringing it out. I think he used to think it was 3%. I think it's a lot larger than that, which is why some people feel really disappointed when they don't get well right away. So I want to normalize it for people that most of us need, maybe not a therapist per se, but we need to spend time and energy. And that's why I teach JournalSpeak to people to do this work. So, Mouse, what I wanted to say in terms of your initial recovery is that I think what happened to you in the lectures, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happened to you in the lectures is you started to believe. You started to believe that you didn't need to be physically sick. And you started to understand that your fear that you were putting toward all these ailments was really not necessary if it was something that you could deal with your emotions. Would that be true?
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And I have to say that at this point, let's say I was about, in my late 30s, and I had 3 young little kids, little ones, and I was paralyzed on a couch. I had to hire somebody to come help me make meals or make the meals. I had to hire somebody for the whole summer to drive my kids wherever it is that they needed to go, because I basically couldn't get off the couch to live life. I couldn't do life with 3 little kids. And that was incredibly depressing to me. I felt like a loser. I felt I was all alone. I was paralyzed with fear. And yet I really didn't know I was paralyzed with fear. I thought I was paralyzed with a bad sciatica or a bad
Right.
back.
Right.
And really, it wasn't the sciatica or the back. It was just fear. And it was fear of, and that's what I learned to figure out. What is it that you're afraid of? And when somebody says, well, I'm not afraid of anything, that is, I found out, bull crank, because we all have these emotions and we either feel them and they pass through us like a piece of Swiss cheese, which is wonderful, or they don't and they get blocked up like a hard piece of cheese. And if it gets blocked up, then you sometimes get into a physical problem.
That's right. And that is exactly so I know so I want to fast forward your story a little bit.
Yes.
And I want you to talk to me a little bit about so what I know of Mouse's story, which is a lot of our stories, is that you find out about this work. For a little while you feel some relief, maybe not complete relief because the symptoms move around, but you don't exactly know how to heal yourself specifically. So you end up coming into a space where you're in chronic pain again and you feel really hopeless. And I know that right before I met Mouse, she had a very unfortunate situation around her son's wedding. So, Mouse, tell that story a little bit for people right before you met me.
And Nicole, you said that absolutely beautifully, because I thought I had this TMS thing. I don't know how. I thought I had this under control. I thought I had, since Sarno would talk to me however many years ago, and I've beaten the bad back, the sciatica, the twitching eye, the irritable bowel, the dizziness. I had dizziness for years. Whatever those things were, I had sort of beaten that. So I thought, I'm clear, I'm free, good. But then my son got married, and it has nothing to do, by the way, with who he married or any of that. He married a great girl. It's not about that. It's just about my son's getting married, and I guess I'm getting older. I guess feel like I'm losing a kid. And am I that important anymore? Do I make a difference to them? What's going to happen to me in my life? And I couldn't even feel those things because I didn't want to go down that path. And I didn't even know those feelings were really in me, to tell you the truth. But the path my body took was that I got plantar fasciitis, and they called it acute plantar fasciitis, in both feet. And it was absolutely paralyzing, and it hurt so much. And I couldn't walk. So here we are again. We've got somebody coming in to cook the meals. But now at this point, I was 62 years old, 60 years old, something like that. And still, believe it or not, vibrant. I'm athletic, and I'm playing sports, and I'm living life fully. And I walk many miles a day. I swim an hour every day. I'm active. And all of a sudden I go from 60 to 0, and I can't get back on the couch. I'm now in a wheelchair. I need to go from Chicago to Philadelphia to my son's wedding, and I have to go in a wheelchair. And I get myself up off the wheelchair to walk down the aisle, and that's it. I spend the rest of the wedding in a wheelchair, and fairly miserable, I hate to say. And I thought, what is this? I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. I can't even get out of this wheelchair to go to my son's wedding. What is the matter with me? Whereupon I looked up on the computer to see if there were any Dr. Sarno followers, and there was a man by the name of Dr. John Strax who was in Chicago. I went to see him, wheelchair down there to see him. He took one look at me and very kindly examined me and said, yes, I think this is a TMS situation. In other words, you are repressing your emotions, and it has come out in a physical form in your body, and some ailment. And the ailment was paralyzing foot pain. And he then suggested I read a book, and Nicole Sax's book, and to call her on the phone and see if I could chat with her. And
okay, so I want to jump in here, Mouse, because I need to say something to people, because listen, they hear these interviews, they don't know people, they don't know who I'm interviewing. So I need to give my impression of you for them to understand how striking this is that you went to your son's wedding in a wheelchair. Okay. This woman is, so you're 66 now, Mouse?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 66 years old. Mouse is definitely more athletic than me. Definitely the most go-getter, up at dawn, swimming and walking and golfing and paddle tennis. And this person is a person that is so full of life. And you know I love you, Mouse. I mean, I admire you. I admire the way you parent your children and your grandchildren. I admire the way you take on the world with your energy and your joy and your enthusiasm. The concept of this woman that I know in a wheelchair at her son's wedding is mind-numbing to me. I can't even picture it. I've seen a picture, so I can picture it. But I cannot envision the person I know now to have done that. So I want you guys to understand this was serious. For Mouse to take a wheelchair to her son's wedding is serious. I mean, that is just so different than the person I know today. And so I just felt the need to say that. And so once Mouse found Dr. Strax, and Dr. Strax referred her into my practice, and this was 4 or 5 years ago. So it was when I was still taking private clients, and Mouse and I started working together. So when I first explained to you what JournalSpeak was, and in case anyone is new to JournalSpeak out there listening to this podcast, I will tell you that is the journaling process by which we get blatantly, unapologetically, impolitely honest. And we talk about all facets of our life with such reckless abandon that the nervous system starts understanding that those unconscious repressed feelings are not necessary to keep us safe. We do not need to repress our emotions. We do not need to leave our body in a sustained fight or flight fashion. We can say the feelings out loud just privately to ourselves in our JournalSpeak practice. And by doing so, we free the system to release the pain signals. So that's what I mean when I say JournalSpeak. And I also, as I said at the top of the podcast, Mouse is amazing at it. One of the best clients I've ever had, being able to just really open herself to the process. But I also know that when Mouse was first introduced to the process, she was not necessarily comfortable with it. So Mouse, help me share with people what it felt like for you when I first explained what we were going to do.
Well, I was a little confused because she says JournalSpeak, and I thought, okay, I'll go get a cute little journal and write this stuff down. That au contraire. It's basically grab a piece of paper and scribble whatever you can down, because you're basically just trying to get it from your brain onto a piece of paper. And as I said to her, it's kind of a let it rip and then rip it up. It is nothing that you want anybody ever to read. And as I would write it, I became better at it as time went along. But in the beginning, as Nicole said, I was very protective of my emotions because I really didn't want anybody, least of all myself, to know that I could be thinking such horrible, vile things. Because I was always taught to put on a fresh tube of lipstick and life will be better, or put on a happy face, put your best foot forward. Don't be talking about something that's deep down and ugly. And yet, when I talked about something that was deep down and ugly and got it out of me, then there was some room in that vessel for the good stuff and for some joy. but there was no room to pour anything good in because the vessel was already full of mucky, muddy coffee grounds. I
Yeah.
don't know how else to say that.
Yes. And Mouse also, one thing I want to just slip in here real quick is I love Mouse's analogy of the refrigerator. Mouse says to me, it's like having this beautiful, bright refrigerator, and you have all this delicious organic food that you want to put inside your refrigerator, and you open it up, and the refrigerator is full of rotting, disgusting old food. And you could put your beautiful organic food in there, but how much more room and how much more availability for joy would you have if you cleaned it out first? And then that is the way I think is a great way to describe what it feels like both mentally and physically once you do your journal speak, wouldn't you say?
Right. And also, when you are cleaning out that refrigerator, when you are writing your emotions down on a piece of paper, there are sometimes I would think, oh, I can't really say that because, oh, what if somebody sees this, or what if God even hears this, that I'm saying this? That
Yeah.
would be so bad. And then I likened it to back to the refrigerator of sometimes you're cleaning out the refrigerator and you think, well, I could use that half of kind of moldy lemon. Maybe what if somebody comes in and wants a martini and needs a lemon, slice? I better just keep that. No, you don't. You get rid of it. You get rid of those emotions
Right.
that are inside that are just icky. Move them on. And everybody's got them. And when somebody says, oh, I don't feel like that, or I don't have anything like that, I think, yeah, right. You do. You just don't know you do. You've been conditioned not to feel them.
Absolutely. And Mouse, I would say the way you were raised, a lot of people listening to this are people who were raised, because I think a lot of us are susceptible if we were raised this way, to be good people, be nice, be a nice girl, be a good girl. Don't insult people, don't have ugly thoughts, don't, if someone does you wrong, rise above it. You're better than that. And I think that we're taught that so much that we learn to repress our emotions. Absolutely. We just push them down, push them down. That's not useful to me. That's not polite. That's not acceptable. And so when we start inviting in this journal speak practice, it kind of flies in the face of what we've been taught. And I know that was true for you.
No question. No question. And that is very true. And that is very true. And then I would think to myself, oh my gosh, it's going to sound like I'm unappreciative of my parents, or I'm
Yes.
unappreciative of the
Yes.
wonderful education they gave me, or unappreciative of all the sacrifices they made for me. If I so much as say, gosh, I was really hurt or sad or lonely or afraid or whatever along the way, I would feel as though I'm just backstabbing them. And that's not fair. And I had to learn that I wasn't doing that. And then I don't know if this is, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but as I would start to do these journal speaks, and they'd get really ugly, and you'd think to even if I was mad at somebody and let's say, oh, I'm irritated at my husband, I'm going to write this journal speak thing down, and I'm going to leave it on the kitchen counter so that he just surreptitiously comes and sees it. This will be fabulous. Then he'll figure out what I'm mad about. No, 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 no. It's not. It's never
I was
about.
going to say, I know you didn't do that.
It's never about the other guy, really. It always starts and ends with you and your feelings and what you're trapping or holding or stuck with on the inside. And so if I would write something that I was irritated, let's just say about my husband, and I'd write it down on a piece of paper, invariably it would get around. If I wrote enough about it in that sitting, I would get around to, all of a sudden I would be empathetic with him, or I'd be sympathetic with him, or I would understand his point of view, and I would come back to how it was me, not him. So again, it's all about me and my emotions and getting my emotions out. And once you get those emotions out, you can then be empathetic towards the other guy, which is really all we really want,
Yes,
is love and empathy towards him. And I was harboring fear.
absolutely.
All I was doing is fear, fear,
Yeah.
fear.
I think that you make an excellent point, which I always tell people. Don't be afraid of your journal speak. It doesn't stay true. You can take down your mother, your father, your siblings, your children, your spouse, your employer, yourself, because this ugly stuff is inside you whether you look at it or not. You could put on blinders and not look at it, but it's going to come through in your headaches and your back pain and your stomach problems and your plantar fasciitis and your shoulder and your
Oh yeah,
frozen
I forgot all
shoulder.
that too.
And
Yeah.
yeah, oh, we can talk about it all. But the point of the matter is that it's coming, this stuff. Okay, so this is how, as basically as I could say it. The stuff that you feel, or for the people that you love, for the job that you do, for your finances, for your childhood memories and trauma, the stuff that you feel about that, it's in you no matter what. It's in you whether you like it or not. So if you don't look at it, it has to express itself somewhere. It's going to express itself in your physical body. If you do look at it, it's also hard. Okay. I'm not going to claim this is easy. Telling the truth about the way you feel about things, that surface truth that needs to come first before you come to that revelation that you feel better about it, it's ugly.
Yes.
It's saying, I hate my father. I hate him. I hate what he did to me. I'll never get over it. He ruined me, right? And then as you're writing that, you start saying, yeah, but I do remember those times where I felt love for him, or I do remember that I had something to do with that situation because he might have done bad things when I was a kid, but then I came back as an angry teenager. It's just, it brings you to a space of owning your part. And once we start owning our part, we're not a victim anymore, because a victim is someone who has absolutely no role in something. And I'll tell you something else. I'm going to even take it to the end of the line. Let's say you were a total victim. Let's say what happened to you, you had absolutely nothing to do with. You were an innocent child. Still, forgiveness is first and foremost for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Set yourself free.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about these things and being honest about them and getting as angry or as sad or as embarrassed and as honest as you need to, it sets you free. It takes all that awful, disgusting stuff out of the refrigerator. And now you're looking at a bright, clean, beautiful space that you can put in anything you want: relationships, love. Oh, and not to mention, the chronic pain goes away because the nervous system is only sending the pain signals to protect you from these ugly feelings. Once the feelings are felt, there's no pain signals. So, Mouse, why don't you talk a little bit about how you went from debilitating uh, plantar fasciitis, you could not walk, and then we started the work together. And how did it start going for you? Tell a little bit about the early recovery. So you're doing the journal speak, and what started happening.
I would say a layer of, I have to back up 1 second by saying not only did I have plantar fasciitis, I went to several different doctors on this plantar fasciitis. And one doctor would say, well, I think this is just what you're going to have. You're going to have to wear special shoes, and you're going to have these orthotic things made and have to wear that the rest of your life. So that means I'll never wear a normal cute shoe. And not,
Right.
and
Devastating.
that was devastating. And then, or another doctor said, well, in addition to the plantar fasciitis, I see that you have a torn ligament here. And you know what? I think we're going to have to fix that torn ligament. And maybe what we'll do is just get you through the wedding, and then we'll talk about the surgery. Everything they said to me put another layer of fear and another layer of fear
Yes.
and another layer of fear on me, to the point where I would try to get up off the examining table at the doctor's, and I was considerably worse than when I went into the office. Because as I went in,
Yeah.
there was some amount of hope that this doctor was going to help me. And then when they'd put on yet another layer of, oh, after the wedding, we'll talk about surgery, I just went down 2 notches. So when I then discovered Nicole gave me that hope, that she said, I just want you to know that all this plantar fasciitis, it's all bullshit. And I thought, well, good. That sounds good to me. I like that. Let's go with this. And she was so definitive, as was Dr. Sarno way back when I saw him 25 years ago, that this is all emotional, that I thought, I hung my hat on Dr. Sarno and he taught me how to help myself. I'm going to hang my hat on Nicole, and she's going to teach me how to help myself through a whole new modality that I had never heard of, and that was this journal speak. And as I started to write, I immediately felt, I'm not sure that the pain in my feet went away. They didn't dissipate. It didn't dissipate right away. But clearly, very quickly, maybe within the first or the second journaling, I thought, there's hope there. I had felt so
Yeah.
desperate, so alone, so afraid, so miserable. I had no hope that this was going to go away. I just thought, I've tackled it before, but this is a different beast. This one's really got me. And there's nobody here to help me. And Nicole, she's got something here. These other doctors don't seem to be able to help me. Maybe she can. So as I would write and talk to her and write, slowly the fear went away. It didn't go away.
Yeah.
No. It took it down a notch, and then another notch,
Yeah.
and then another notch. And it's like I was in a car and the radio was too loud. Instead of just letting it play loud and being frantically afraid of the noise, I found the dial tone and I was able to turn it down a little bit and a little bit and a little bit.
Yeah.
And then as that happened, it was literally just sort of as if, wow, I don't think my feet hurt as much as they did yesterday. And then a few days later,
Yeah.
wow, they really are doing much better. I wasn't completely obsessed and compulsed by those feet. I was thinking of
Right.
hope versus fear. So when I would go to bed at night, the last thing I'd think about would be my feet. The first thing when I put my feet on the ground would be the first thing I'd think about. Now I kept talking to myself and I'd say, you know what? I'm going to keep with this writing because I think there's something to it. It's cleaning me out. And as I would write and
Yes.
write, I would feel more hope and I'd feel more appreciation for myself and appreciation for my body and appreciation for the fact that I could do this writing and that I had found Nicole and that she was teaching me how to do this and that the ugly stuff really was the good stuff. The good stuff on the other side of the ugly
Yeah.
stuff is what I was going to say, kind of. Sorry.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes
That's really beautifully
sometimes
put.
a storm comes along and it doesn't always have to destroy everything. Sometimes it clears a path. And that's what it
Absolutely.
did for me. This storm, yet again, I could cleared a path for me. And this time it's a path that I'll now be able to stick to for the rest of my life because of Nicole's journal speaking. I will get, and for instance, right now, I've got a little heel that's just a little bit kind of annoying. I know why it's annoying. Now I know enough to know that I've got my heel dug in over something. I think I'm right over this particular situation. And I think to myself, I can either continue to think that I'm right and have my heel dug in and have a hurting heel, or I can say, Mouse, let this go. Surround this thing by a little love and appreciation and love and appreciation for yourself first, and realize you don't need to have your heels dug in over anything. Just let it flow. Let it go. And it's
And I want to say something about let it flow, let it go, though, because I think it's very important what you're bringing up. I think that the reason you're available to let it flow, let it go, the reason you're even available to that line of thinking about if your heel just means you're dug in, I think it's because of how much journal speak you've done, because you have to realize that when people have all these repressed emotions packed down hard, that
right.
disgusting, yucky underneath, when it's packed down hard, you're not available to the love and light of maybe I just need to bring love to the
No.
situation. No, there's no space for that. It's like that disgusting refrigerator is packed full, jammed full. When you open it up, there's not one thing to put on the shelf. But Mouse has been so judicious in doing the journal speak. Oh, and here's another thing I want to talk about, Mouse, that I think you're really you're great at. And you've asked me this question a million times, and people ask me this question a million times. What happens if I keep talking about the same
Yes.
stuff over and over and over? Mouse must have told me 100,000 times, all right, well, Nicole, we're going to talk about the same thing again today. People to ask me this question all the time. And I want people to understand the tremendous value in giving the things that upset you the amount of stage they need, however many times they need. Because I know, Mouse, that throughout the course of your healing, you revisited like the same top 5 topics over and over again. It doesn't mean that's a waste of time. In fact, and I would be interested in your opinion on this, I think every time you revisited it, more was revealed and another layer was kind of taken off the top. Would you agree
Correct.
with that?
Correct. And by the way, when I say let it flow, let it go, it sounds as though I've got that all figured out. I don't. And I don't really know how to let it flow and let it go, but I'm trying to.
It's the human
Yes, it's a
process.
human process. Yeah. So I don't really, but now when I had a debilitating back about 3 months ago. Absolutely. I was on the ground. I couldn't get up. I couldn't move. It was the same back pain I had had 30 years ago, time and time again, years and years ago. And instead of being riddled with fear and panic over this bad back, I looked at my daughter. I said, "Can you believe this? I can't even get up off the ground. Lend your mother a hand, honey, and get me up and off of here." Well, she tried to wedge me up off the ground. And the next minute, we are, and I really are laughing very hard. And when people ever say that, I think, "Oh, that's so corny." We really were, because she couldn't get me up. She was trying, and I was trying to whittle my way up, but it was really hard. But instead of being so panicked by it, we laughed, because I knew it wasn't going to last, because I knew I'd gotten through it before, and I got through it before with journal speaking. And so when a new ailment comes along, it gets you a little bit, because you think, "Uh-oh, I've never experienced this one. Uh-oh," a little fear creeps in there, or a lot of fear creeps in there. And then it makes the situation even worse. And now, if I can journal speak and get to it, I know I can talk to it and get to the humor part of it. But there's no humor when you're absolutely stuck in the quicksand.
That's right. That's right. And that's why Journal Speak is the, what I call it, it's the vehicle that brings you from despair to hope, because there's no space for hope when you're in total
Correct.
despair. And that's why when you start your Journal Speak process, you just have to go on faith. And I say to people, if you can't believe in it, I'll believe in it for you. Trust me, you'll take it back from me just as soon as you start to see the proof in your own body. But at the beginning, you just have to kind of jump off the cliff, knowing that you're going to grow wings on the way down, because I'm telling you. I am sitting here telling you the same way I told Mouse, after doctor after doctor after doctor told her, "You might just be this messed up for life." And I said, "Absolutely not. I believe you're going to be totally well. I believe that there will be no chronic problems for you, because chronic pain is an epidemic of fear. Chronic pain is not about the pain moment to moment. Chronic pain is about the fear generated by the meaning we give the pain." And as soon as I saw what was going on with her, I said, "Nope, you're going to be totally well. You just have to do as I tell you to do." And she was brilliant in her ability to say, "Okay, then we're going to do this." So, Mouse, do talk about revisiting things over and over, though, because it is such a major question I get. Talk to me how it feels, how frustrating it feels to keep revisiting, but how it has helped you.
Well, and it's embarrassing too, by the way, because you think,
Yes, yeah.
shouldn't I have learned this? We've already talked about this for weeks or months or years. I mean, gosh, move on with this, Mouse. Why do you seem to be so stuck here? Well, everybody's got a little something they're stuck with, I think, and that they kind of move through that. But you were very kind and you were very patient as we'd go through the same situation over and over again. And as you said, every time we went through the same situation, we got deeper and further, and we got a better understanding. And I wouldn't have gotten that better understanding had you not said to me, "You got to go back and dig deeper. You got to write really right from your gut, right from way down there." And I thought, "I think I am." And he said, "Well, you're not, or you wouldn't still be in pain." And so I'd say, "Okay." And Nicole, I have to say, you taught me some good swear words that I didn't, little Catholic girl didn't really want to do any of that stuff. And now I can throw out a few of them here and there. And it's actually quite freeing. It's I was so stuck in everything. I had to do it right. I had to do it perfectly. I had to say and be and do the perfect way. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I thought I had to do that. And that
Yeah.
was fearful in itself, because I kept setting such high standards and I could never meet them. So I was afraid of what's going to happen if I don't meet those high standards. Is anybody going to like me? Am I going to be lovable? Am I going to? And then again, you just fall right down into that fear pit. And I think whatever situation you and I talked about, any single one of them always came back to, what are you afraid of? What are you
Right.
afraid of? And I remember when I met Sarno years ago, he said, "You are harboring two things. You're either harboring fear or anger, and you will the rest of your life." And I said, "Well, lucky me." And he said, "Well, that's really how everybody is." But he said, "People don't they don't know it. They just become accustomed to their fear or their anger or their sadness, and it's what they know, and that's what they know how to operate with it, or so they think. And so they just hang on to it because it's kind of what they know is their comfort zone. And
That's true. That's true. And you know what? A lot of people feel that fear makes them stronger. And I'm sorry, anger makes them stronger. Fear keeps them safe. And self deprecation makes them more successful. And all three of those things are total crap. Fear does not keep you safe. And trust me, I am as big of a, I suck at this. I think if I'm scared for my kids and I worry and I hold my breath while my daughter performs on stage, she's going to dance better.
yeah.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I tell myself, Nicole, enjoy it. Be here while she's dancing because you're going to freaking miss it. And she's going to dance however she dances, regardless of if you hold your
Yes.
breath. So we're all susceptible to this. And we're all thinking, like, if I just stay really angry at that guy, well, that'll serve him right. Hello, that's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It hurts you. It hurts you, but it does not make you stronger to be angry. And see, I can say all these things and they can be all wise. You will not feel the effects of this in your own body unless you do your own journal
Yes.
speak, because you can hear me and you can have an aha moment and an epiphany and say, Nicole's right, but you won't be able to actually feel into this and allow it to help your physical symptoms unless you do this for yourself. And that is something, Mouse, that you did so well. I can't say it enough because, see, I have this podcast now and I have a YouTube channel and I have a book and, people read my stuff. And I think a lot of people read it, get it, and then stop short of doing the work for themselves. And you are just such a strong example of somebody who really just said, I know I have to do the work for myself or I'm not going to heal. And you did that. So I want you to just, now that we've talked about, what it was like and what happened, let's talk about what it's like now. I know that you're a human being and there's no cure for human pain. So you'll have different things just like I do. Some days you got a headache, some days you got your heel hurts, some days you have a stomach thing or whatever, back pain. But for the most part, I want you to share with people your life now, because I know how limitless it is. And I know how different it was from the day you were in the wheelchair. And I think it's helpful for people to understand what is the result of this hard work.
The result of this hard work is I have my life back. And yes, I'm 66 years old. And so you think kind of old fart, but I'm vibrant. I get to do exactly what I want to do, which is a lot. I swim every day. I swim, 45 minutes to an hour every day. I walk every day, 45 minutes to an hour. I can play sports. I can run up and down stairs. I don't have to hold on to the railing. That's a huge deal. I had to crawl up and down stairs on my bottom. I can run up and down stairs. And the other day I actually thought I was running down the stairs. I thought, I bet I could do this 2 at a time down the stairs. You know how I used to skip a stair, that. I thought, I don't really know if I want to, not sure I want to be. Mouse, how exactly did you break your neck again? Well, I was going down the stairs 2 at a time without holding onto the railing. But I kind of feel I can
Right.
do anything like that I want to do. I've got energy. I've got enthusiasm. I'm not wrapped in a coat of fear all day, every day. And that's how I operated. I was told by the doctors, this thing is, when it went from whatever the thing was, they'd say, oh, and I had thyroid. God, I had thyroid. I had this dizziness. And all these conditions, they said, we don't know exactly what it is. Oh, and then there's the lupus. Remember that? Oh God. They said, these things are all, we can't cure them. We don't know how to do it. And so when I heard the word incurable back then, I thought, oh my God, panic, fear. This thing that I've got is incurable. Now I hear we can't cure you. And I think, bravo. That means it's incurable. That means I go inside to cure it. That means I can do the work. And it totally sets me free. And so I always am saying to myself, oh, I hope this is a journal speak thing because I can handle that. I know I can go to pen to paper and write down my nasty, ugly feelings and get them out on a piece of paper. And then I've got hope. I've got energy. I've got spirit and enthusiasm. I've got my life back. And you might think, well, she's 66. Who cares if she has her life back? No, I got stuff to do. I got places to go, and I could do it.
Oh, and I think nobody would say she's 66 and who cares if she has her life back, because at 66, with, the way we live today, I think you've got another 40 years left of having amazing, amazing life, and you have grandchildren and you have so much out there to do. And I really just want to thank you for coming here and sharing your story, because it is so important for people to hear that this is possible for them. If you are out there and if you are listening and if you are stuck and if you are hopeless and if you feel like your chronic symptoms or your chronic symptoms associated with your autoimmune disorder or your chronic pain or your chronic anxiety or depression or the fact that you don't get joy out of life or you have low energy, if you have chronic fatigue, I know all these diagnoses are real. Okay, this is so important that you hear. Mouse had been diagnosed with lots of different things. It is all real. Nobody is telling you this is in your head. Nobody is telling you you are making this up. The pain is as debilitating and real life as we could even ever imagine. This is no kidding pain. But the genesis of your pain is in your emotional repression. I am telling you that this is real and true for you. And when you do this work, as Mouse has done it, as I have done it, as millions of people who have followed Sarno for years have done it, your entire life is available to you. And so, Mouse, before we close, do you have any sending off words for the people out there?
The only thing I was going to say was it sounds so simple and it is so easy to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also the hardest thing to do. It would be much easier to go to the doctor and have him cut it out or give you a pill or give you exercises or take him acupuncture or whatever. It would be so much easier to put it in somebody else's hands and say, here, you fix me. And it's so simplistic to say, all you have to do is take a pen to paper and write this stuff down and you'll feel better. And you think, how can it be that easy? And it is that easy. But what you're writing down is hard stuff. So that's, I guess, you can sit there wherever you are. If you're on a couch right now, or you can't even get up off the floor, or your life is lonely and you think, I'll never get out of this. And I'm not some woo-woo, miracle, God put his hands on me and all of a sudden I'm cured of all these yabangy things. No, all I did is talk to Nicole and she told me to get out a piece of paper and a pencil and write down the deep uglies that were in there, and that what I was sad or mad or hurt or lonely, write all that down. And just take a few minutes. You don't have to write down hours at a time. To write down for 5 minutes. And it's interesting how 5 minutes turns into 15. And sometimes 15 turns into 30. But you don't even have to do it's not don't possess yourself about being perfect at it and doing writing down everything all at once. Just jot down what you can right now. And then if you feel like get a pen in a little while, write it down again. And then all of a sudden you're going to say, you know what? It feels better that I get this stuff out of my system. Get those coffee grounds, those old coffee grounds out of the coffee pot. You don't make a new fresh brewed pot of coffee with the old coffee grounds in there and expect that coffee to taste good.
Absolutely. Dump them. And also just because, whenever I talk about this stuff, I also want to remind people it's not just that you feel better, it's that your nervous system, this is science. Dr. Sarno used to say, my process is more scientific than surgery. When you do what Mouse is suggesting and you set yourself free, your nervous system literally switches from fight or flight to rest and repair. And when it does, the pain signals don't fire because they aren't necessary. Your nervous system is not against you. It's just trying to protect you. And when your repressed emotions are seen as a greater predator than your physical pain, your nervous system will choose the pain. It just chooses the lesser predator. Life is a choice between what hurts and what hurts worse. And your nervous system chooses the pain to protect you. When you get these feelings out and you set yourself free, as Mouse is discussing, the pain signals stop firing because they are not systemically necessary. So I would love everybody to just think on it and to just take this in, because the life you save is your own. And I believe you can do it. And I know Mouse believes you can do it. So Mouse, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today.
Thank you for saving my life, sweet girl.
Oh, Mouse.
Thank you.
And everybody out there, this has been The Cure for Chronic Pain, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.